Okay, welcome everyone to a session about monitoring DNN internals using Zabbix. This is one of the products. I'm also going to use Signal 4 in case anyone knows anything about that. But as the session progresses, we'll see how all of these tools fit together. So first of all, a shout out, thank you to all of our sponsors here, there. So what is Zabbix? What we're going to talk about is DNN integrating with this product. So Zabbix is an open source monitoring solution. Has anyone heard of Zabbix or is using Zabbix? You have, David?
I've heard.
Yeah, heard of it. Anyone using it? Oh, all right. It's a Latvian product, Latvian open source project, where they have created a product that you deploy using a Docker container, and what it does is it allows you to remotely monitor certain IT systems that you have running. So you define certain actions that it has to do, like go and see if that server is still up, something like that, or go and see how long it takes to load a page, or go and check this or that. It can also go quite deep into these systems. Then you decide, okay, you've got the data back. Now let's see if I need to trigger an alarm of some sort. Let's say your page load for your website goes above a certain value, and you're like, okay, if that happens, I consider that wrong. And then finally, of course, you define what will happen if such an error is, if an alert needs to be sent. Like, who do I need to alert? How do I need to alert, etc. So that is, in a nutshell, what Zabbix does. So the way it's set up is, let's say you've got, various DNN instances running. You have a Zabbix server somewhere in the cloud running, and it, in the first step, retrieves some data. Then it will apply the rules that you've defined, what you're going to do, and then it might say, okay, I'm going to send out alerts. And in this case, we'll be using an example of a service called Signal 4, but there are various. You can also say, well, send emails or send SMSs or whatever. We're going to use Signal 4 for the demo. And that will make, people's phones scream and do other things. Send them emails, bombard them with stuff. And yeah, Signal 4 is German. Zabbix is Latvian. It's always nice to stay in a European ecosystem. So, without further ado, I'm going to just grab my cheat sheet to make sure that I get everything correct. Let's have a look. Come on. There we are. So what I have here is I'm basically a library project for DNN. So I'm going to create a DLL, and this DLL has a few, I've created this sys methods. I don't want to go too deep into what this code is. I'll just say what it does. So get web config MD5, which we're going to use, is basically what it does is you send it to a certain file, in this case the web config, on your server. It loads it and it computes the MD5 hash of it. So obviously you know where this is going to go. Like, if anyone changes anything in that web.config, that MD5 hash will change, right? And the second method I've created is just to see if a directory is writable or not. So there's a small method to try to write a file to it or not, which may be interesting if you're monitoring your server to say, did someone change the permissions on a parent directory or folder, or did my identity change for my W3 process, and all of a sudden I'm able to traverse into the Windows folder. So just those two methods. Again, they're not the core of the demo today. And I'm going to have a controller here, and the controller is a Web API controller in DNN, right? So it inherits from the DNN API controller, and I'm going to register a route to bring to mind /sysmonitor, and then this is the sys controller, and then whatever action I have underneath it is like test, and I will send out a response, and I will use to authorize that request, I will use our new DNN API tokens, right? So the API token authorize, for those of you who were here or at our event last year, I gave a presentation on API tokens. And basically what it entails is you label your method to be authorized through API token authorize. You have a particular text key for your application that should be unique, and that text key can be looked up in a resource file. I've put an empty string here because we're not going to go into localization, but you could potentially translate it and give a nice name to it in the UI of DNN using this method. It's not a focus of this presentation, so I'm just going to leave it here. And we're going to give it a scope. And the scope for these methods is going to be host scope. So only a host API token can access this method, right? And when we flesh that out, I'm just going to go to this, and I'm going to go back to the solution. When we flesh that out, so let's say we've got our web config MD5 method. What we're going to do is we're going to go to that to those sys methods and do the get MD5 hash from the application map path /web.config. Any questions so far as I rush through this code? All right, okay, so, and I have a few other methods here, so I can, for instance, ask for the version of DNN, and I can see if it can access the parent of the current folder. And I will also be able to check in another method, can access Windows, where I go, is directory writable, see Windows, for instance. That would be a pretty significant security breach if that ends up to be true. So all of these methods, again, they can only be accessed by a host level API key. And if I build this project, I'm just going to open this here, open in a file explorer. I am going to go here. This is where my solution lives. I am, come on. Cute. Just going to build this solution out, and there we go. Created the manifest and everything, and if I go to my releases, I should have a 001 release of this thing. If I just open it up with the zip file, you will see it's very simply just a DLL with a manifest that writes that DLL to the bin folder. So nothing shocking there, fairly simple to do. And I need to install this somewhere. So I'm going to abuse one of our community service for this. I've got DNN-API.org. I guess not many of you use this, but it keeps track of our API methods that deprecate, methods that appear, etc. in DNN. And I'm going to log into this. And I'm going to use that login to log into this, and we're going to install this extension. Right. There we go. Up. Right, let's let it restart. One, two, three. Come on. We have a particularly slow server. Yeah, it's our DNN-Connect community server that runs this. So. So most of you are, from last year, you will remember how we activate API tokens in our installation. So I'll briefly go over that as well. There you go. We go into the configs. Where's that again? Yeah, I can never find config manager. Thank you. There we are. And let's go to the web.config, and in the section of auth managers, it's underneath this, I believe. Yeah. There we go. We have the, where is it? Client dependency. Up. Where are we? Ah, do we have a control F here? Yeah, we have control F. Okay. There we go. Thank you, Sebastian. API token auth. Now I've enabled it, and it will work through SSL connections to this website, right? So that's good. And then I can go into the security tab of DNN, and if we get somewhere, we go to more, and we go to API token settings, and we have allowed API tokens on this website with a maximum time span of 1 year, and for user tokens, a maximum time span of 30 days. Now we can go into our authentication page and actually start creating a test token. So I'm going to create a test token here. As you will see, the scope is going to be host in this case, and that will show up now our API key, the sysmonitor API key that I added earlier in my DLL. I'm going to give it a name, another test token, of course, and it will expire in 30 days. That's fair enough. So it's going to give me a token, copy. I'm going to just put that in this here, and now we're fine, and we have an API token. So at this point, I should be able to drill down into this into this web API using that token, right? So let's start doing that. Let's do a quick test. Visual Studio Code. Let's not do that one. Let's go to the Thunder client, and we're going to go for a new request. That's fine. We're going to go to HTTPS DNN API dot org/API/bring to bind/sysmonitor/sys/ now I need to just go back to my code, of course, and get these method names correct. Right, so it's sysmonitor, sysmonitor, and then, for instance, that one. There you go. That. Then, obviously, if I send this, this should give an authorization denied. Right, and now we need to have a bearer token to go with it, which should be this one. And if I have that token and I send it, I should get a hash for the web.config. That's the hash for the web.config. All right. This part is now done. We have it running on our server. We verified that it runs. And now we are going to spin up Zabbix, right? And so Zabbix is a, as I said, runs through, in a Docker instance. So I'm not going to go through the details of this, but basically you're going for 3 containers. There's the actual server component itself. There's a front end to Zabbix, and there's going to be a database. In this case, Postgres, that we're going to spin up. So if I spin this up, docker compose up in daemon mode, and I will need to authenticate. Then we are, all right. Just going to wait until it has done that. We started it, and now if I go and spin up localhost colon 8080, we should have Zabbix running. So that is my entry screen. So default login is admin with Zabbix, admin, and then Zabbix. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Just going to make sure we get the full experience here. This is a dashboard for Zabbix when we first arrive. What we have to do is we have to create servers with or hosts, what we call hosts, from which we collect data. So we're going to get a host. I will going to create a host. I'm going to call it a test host or test server. What did I do for my example? Right. New test. It's just a new test. There we go. And it needs a group. Well, I'm just going to go with applications, whatever. I don't care. And I'm going to create that one. And then in this new test, I'm going to create an item to test, which is going to be checking the web config, check web config hash, something like that. And it's going to be an HTTP agent task, and I'm going to call it webconfig.hash, and the URL is going to be the one that we just had actually. I am just going to go over here and grab it. Paste it in here. There we go. And no query fields, but we're going to accept everything back, and I'm going to add an authorization, and that is going to be a bearer that. Okay, and that is just going to get, I can leave that as it is, and that should now be able to, can I just check it to run, execute now, request was sent successfully. Okay, so that now requests at intervals, it does this task, right? And what I need to define now is a trigger, where in the trigger I'm going to define under what circumstance I want to be alert, something that does something with this data. So test web config change, I'm going to call it, and what it's going to do, I need to go to my cheat sheet, and I'm going to add this trigger, and here I'm going to add the item that I have used, and I'm going to use the last one of that, and I'm going to go for the result doesn't equal 0, and the function is going to be change. So where is it? Change. There you go. Difference between last and previous value, so it keeps on pinging it. If the two values are different, I want an alert to be fired. So that's basically the thing. And I'm going to see that as a high severity thing that can happen, and I'm going to give it a tag. In this case, the tag you will see I need to use in downstream to just collect certain items, right, to alert people to. And so now what I have configured is if anything happens to the web.config, I have a trigger, something that happens. So now I need to go to the alerts. I'm going to go to the media types, because I want to be able to, so these are all the different types of alerting hooks it has, right? So obviously there's email at the top here. I can use email. I need to fill in an SMTP server details, and it will send an email if something is wrong. But I can also use Telegram, SMS, Slack, and we're actually going to use Signal 4. And so for Signal 4, I need to have a team secret that I'm going to fill in, and that is this thing. There you go. Update. And I'm going to enable it as well. Enable it. There we go. We enabled it. So now I have set up an integration from Zabbix to Signal 4. And then I need to go to the trigger actions and say, well, you know, if I am going to, alert admins in case something happens, and the condition is going to be, well, when there is a tag name of demo that I find, I want the operation to be done, which is to send a message, right, to, wait a second, to alert, there we go, send a message to all media operations, send a message to users, admin, here we go, I'm going to send it to an admin, and I'm going to go to, I want a Signal 4 message sent to the admin in case something happens, right? Add that, and add that. Right, now we should be set up. I actually have Signal 4, I will just quickly go there as well for you. Signal4.com, my account, and there you go. I'm going to fill that in. The beauty of this system actually is that now you can work within a team. And so you can have multiple people listening to incoming issues and delegate between multiple people if someone's going to do something with this or not, allowing someone, for instance, to go on vacation without, having a security issue back home. So in this case, this is obviously a demo account, but you get the picture. This is for just a couple of people. This is free to use. And if you are larger IT teams that have to respond to issues, there are tiers of payment with this service. But yeah, and I of course have it on my phone, and currently it should be done. It should be okay. We have many things. Close all. There we go. And now with a bit of luck, I'm going to put this here, like this. Right. Now, of course, the thing is we need to change our web.config. So we're going to go back to our DNN API site. I am going to the config manager again. I'm going to go to the web.config. Come on. And let's screw around with a few parameters here. Let's say we change that to false. I'm going to change those, save those changes. And now, with a bit of luck, the next time this thing will run, it is going to trigger an action. For these users. Let's have a user. Do I have the admin set up? The admin is set up. Media, add media. Maybe I should have sent that. Yeah. I should have set that. Add. Sorry. Okay. Update. Let's try it again. And there you go for the hosts. Sorry, items, this one. Let's have a look. Display. Might have actually timed out on the last request, it says. Okay, yep, sorry. There's an issue with the item here. Let's just edit the item.
Clear error messages too.
Yes, you get clear error messages too. I have to say, that is indeed, that's a very good one. Text, update. Thank you. Now execute it, all right? There you go, and execute now. Request send correctly if execute now, right? And no error message, okay. And so now if I go to the latest data, it should have it there. latest data is 1. I should have that string. Okay, so that's 76 FB something. All right, let's do this again. Come on. We're going to go to the web.config. We're going to go to auto upgrade, call that false, and we're going to save those changes. Yes. All right. Yeah. There. So, there we are. Success. That was the alarm. Right. So. Yeah, exactly. It's like maybe you can put a more friendly sound on it, but that is basically the way it works. So. I have a bit more time, but in conclusion, right, what we've seen is wiring together something you can program inside of DNN. You can expose it with the token API for like a long period of time, like for instance a year or something with a token. Use a service outside of it to say, well, drill down into this and every now and then just get me the value for it, and then down the line alert people if something happens. Obviously you can combine this with multiple items that you define. Maybe you want to add, is the site alive, is what's the response time for my site, etc. There's tons of things you can imagine. The interesting thing is, what I like about Zabbix is the way they've done their system is you can create templates for things, for common things. So people will create a template for instance, a Docker server, and it has tons of features of monitoring whatever happens in Docker. And people have thought about that and already drawn up like all the settings, like what items, what triggers, etc., and what severity these things are. You can still tweak those obviously to your own liking, but the idea is that if you share one of those templates, someone else can just use that and monitor their Docker server quickly without having to reinvent the wheel. Obviously we could imagine having the same thing for DNN. Like, okay, what is important for DNN? Well, if the web.config changes, I would like to see this, but you might have a trigger on whether the amount of users is suddenly beginning to increase, right? If you see any suspected weird activity on your website. We currently have a security monitor built into the DNN, into the persona bar, but it's like a one-off thing, right? You have to go there, open the panel and say, do a security check of my site, and it does a few things. But what if you could just expose that through the web API to a tool like this? So in case something changes or something is not good, you trigger an alert and you say, okay, well, this is actually not good. So you should have, this is a pretty severe alert. Yeah, it has helped me at least keep track of a number of DNN sites and a number of Docker containers that I run with various services that I use in the solutions that I develop. And the great thing is that that way I kind of centralize the monitoring of various items that I have running. Any questions on this? Tonchi?
Do you have, in this system, is there any reporting? So for instance, you would like to see what happened last 30 days with some website, so you can,
I'm pretty sure there is. Let me just, there you go. Scheduled reports, availability reports, top 100 triggers. Okay, that's one right now. Tons of features like this. I think their business model, I'll bring up their page, is hosting it obviously for you and consulting around and consulting for that. So the solutions they have, let's say products and Zabbix Cloud. So yeah, that's the way they make their money, is hosting it for others.
Could you also have scheduled reports for, say, performance of the site, keeping it live?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that you can see, okay, at 2 o'clock on Friday, that page were using 10 seconds to load something?
Yeah, yeah. So those metrics that I showed you, the items that you're actually measuring, all of that is stored in history. So I can go through all the different hashes of the web.configs now over time and see how it changed. Obviously, you define how long you're going to keep this and etc. or conditions under which you store it in the database. But every time it checks, it creates a new record in its Postgres database with the values, so you can create reports indeed showing over time what happens.
And you can maybe generate graphs of.
I suspect, or you create a tool that leverages that data and then shows it in a graph, because you could plug Grafana on top of this to go to that Postgres database and then create the graphs from there, which is probably the better tool for it.
But with Zabbix also can you keep all the authentication, usernames and passwords and so on for the different sites?
Not sure what the question is.
Well, if they were going to access the different pages that you needed to be authenticated.
Yeah, right now of course I use the API token. So obviously, if you as a company have to monitor multiple client sites, you will generate multiple API tokens and stick them in Zabbix in that thing. That obviously is accessible by anyone who goes to that Zabbix site, that Zabbix server. Zabbix itself, of course, can be secured. That's something you need to put in place. I've just shown you in a simple Docker container. It was with a default login and HTTP. But obviously, the production one I'm running is behind traffic and it has a different login to it. No.
Sorry, Peter. I know that is out of the scope of the session.
Yeah.
But the GWT, authorization that you showed that you showed there last year is not part of the core, or is
Which association?
I mean the authorization. Okay.
The
GWT.
Yeah.
Is part of the DNN core.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So the API tokens I just showed you, they were. I made that in DNN-10. So that's in DNN-10 right now. It's already there. And JWT is also installed in DNN-10. JWT, of course, is for mobile apps, and API tokens is for this kind of scenario.
It's in the available extensions.
Okay, it's not then installed by default.
I think we moved to install by default, but I might be wrong. But I think that we had a discussion about this. Yeah. Yeah, this was. I remember there's an internal discussion about that, and I was a strong proponent to just roll it out, because by default we switch it off anyway in the web.config. So in the web.config you need to say enable true, and then it works.
Okay.
So,
cool.
Yeah. That's.
Maybe you show that it's Zabbix that following the website,
Yeah,
following the...
yeah. So it's the action of Zabbix
Yes.
doing this.
It's always like that, or can you also push things to them?
You can also push, but it's not the default model. So what you can do is, if you can't pull, you can install a Zabbix agent on a server, and but you need to install it as root, and it's a daemon that runs on that server and then knows where to send the data to which Zabbix server it sends the data. But very quickly you discover, when you start using the product that it was designed to do the other way around. Like the most natural fit is, no, I poll. I go somewhere and then I pull in data. I've looked at simplified products like Uptime Kuma, for instance. I don't know if you know about that one. Yeah, which one?
Better uptime or better start?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, better uptime. Yeah, exactly. Uptime Kuma, better uptime. So there are several products that are really user friendly. You have a Docker container, you spin it up, poof, and and you point it like this server I want monitored, and you see graphs of response time and everything. But they're fairly limited in functionality. You can't do this kind of stuff with it. This is obviously completely on the other side of the scale. You can do everything, but it's not very user friendly. You need to learn a lot first how things piece together. But there's not much you can't do with this product. So yeah.
So basically, you could put up a best practice for DNN sites, and Zabbix could offer that as a default.
Yeah, what I'd like to see is, if we do have, I think Daniel wanted to talk about a security team, right, of people who share knowledge about DNN security. That security team could evolve or spark off a project where you say, okay, well, actually these and these parameters we're going to add to our scripts of this is what you should monitor. And me, running several DNN instances, can download those changes and go like, okay, yeah, that, and then now I also monitor those endpoints or those things. Like that would benefit all of us.
The intent is not to use it, for example, like a logging system.
No, it's not. No, it's not meant for. You could abuse it for it, but it's. The focus is on alerting, is detecting issues and alerting people. Yeah. Although, log is there of the history of things that you measure, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, unconfirmed. Is installed by default by disabled?
Yeah. All right. Good. All right. Anyone else? Nope. Okay. Well, that was it.